Mary Draper Ingalls lived in a place called Draper's Meadow, a small settlement near the Duck Pond on the Virginia Tech campus. In 1755, a Native American tribe called the Shawnee raided the settlement. Mary Ingalls was captured by the Shawnee and taken to the Ohio River. A few weeks later, she was taken to Big Bone Lick to help make salt.
The story of Mary Draper Ingalls is a fascinating story, and some people think it's pretty unbelievable because some people say that this woman traveled 1,000 miles from a site beyond Cincinnati, Ohio, all the way back to Blacksburg. And she made this journey because she was captured by the Shawnee Indians in 1755. Some people say it was only a 500-mile trip, other people say it was an 800-mile trip, and some say it's 1,000 miles. She actually followed 3 rivers back to Blacksburg. Those rivers were the Ohio River, the Kanawha River, and the New River.
What I love about being a descendant of Mary Ingalls is that she's a person that could understand a little bit of both sides. When she went to this village in Chillicothe in what is now Ohio, she would have been frightened. She would have been worried about her sister-in-law and her little boys, but she wasn't so frightened that she couldn't notice which of the Indians were being kind to her. She began to notice that they treated their children well. She began to learn their language. She began to listen to what they were saying. She noticed how the French traders were acting. She didn't just sit there and shake and shiver and wonder what's going to happen to her. What is really wonderful is she decided not to be a victim.
Well, the tribe that captured Mary Ingalls was a very sophisticated tribe. It was the Shawnee Indians. They had a huge settlement of maybe 1,500 to 1,800 people on the banks of the Scioto River in Ohio. And they traveled through Blacksburg regularly on hunting expeditions. Well, there are a couple of reasons why people think Mary Draper Ingalls wasn't killed immediately and instead was taken as a captive. And one was that the Indians wanted to ransom her. Another theory is that they really respected her strength. And this goes along with the story of her delivering a child by herself.
That it happens in many, many Indian tribes, but it's called running the gauntlet. And they want to find out if their captives are brave and courageous and strong. So they make their captives run through a line of women and men and children. They're all armed with sticks and whips. And you have to run through the line while they hit you. And they hit you as hard as they can.
How did she escape the Indians? Mary Draper Ingalls was working to make salt. And that was a very, very hot and difficult task. And she realized if she didn't escape, she would never see her family again. And they simply wandered off and didn't come back. And the Indians didn't think that they would possibly try to escape. They had no confidence that these 2 women could make their way back. And so the accounts I've read said the Indians only looked for them for about a day. Well, I think that this is one of the most important stories in the history of the region, particularly the history of Blacksburg. And the story demonstrates the strength of pioneer women. And I would really like to see a memorial, a statue, on the Virginia Tech campus to celebrate Mary Draper Ingalls. It's an amazing story, and we need to use her story as a model of what women can accomplish.
Well, I think this story is important to me because it gives me some sense of who I am and the potential I have to overcome adversity. So that's why it's an important thing to me. I think for people living in Southwest Virginia and people in the United States on the whole, it's nice to think that there are some women that were really heroic, that we can be proud of and tell those stories. So often people say, well, nobody important went to this school, or nobody important was in my family. And yet, you know, this really is a story that it's fun to tell, that's interesting, and there's a lot of mystery still.
This story demonstrates the incredible strength of human beings, particularly the strength of women. And it's an undertold story, an underappreciated story.